Hi, Kathryn.
Hi.
Hey, great to see you.
Good to see you.
So, why don't we start by telling everybody a little bit about yourself? Tell me about your story and your journey.
So I went to SUU my freshman year, which was in 2013. When I got there, I was just experiencing really bad pain, and I was experiencing that a couple months before I even got there. And then I went to see a doctor in Cedar City, Utah, in 2013 still. And he told me that I was just really sensitive to pain, kind of just like I was a baby, everything
Hmm.
like that. And then over Christmas break, which was just a couple months after that, I was at my grandparents' house and I was just in excruciating pain. And I just thought something needed to be done. Something was not right. This was not normal. And after I met with Dr. Arrington in Ogden, Utah, who ended up being an endometriosis specialist, kind of just worked out that way. We scheduled a surgery which was going to take place in March of 2014. So at that time I was 19 because my birthday is in January.
Mm.
And we had that surgery and as a scraping, it seemed like it was a success. Within that surgery, we found that it was spreading to other places outside of the uterus or beyond the uterus, I should say.
Hmm.
And he removed my appendix because I didn't need it, but it was also covered in the
Oh,
endometriosis.
wow.
And it was all on my ovaries, and then it was all over my uterus. So it was basically just covering everything. So after the surgery, he felt pretty confident that he got a lot of it, but then he said with the amount there was and how deep it was, that there was a good chance that I probably could not have my own kids. And if I was going to, I should probably consider doing so earlier rather than later.
Right.
So after that, I kind of just took it with a grain of salt, and just
Did he
because I was.
suggest any options on how you can have kids, especially with such severe endometriosis?
So he said that I could try right now just to have like a better shot, and since I'm a little bit
But
younger.
you're 21, right?
Yeah, and so I didn't necessarily want to start having kids. And then he gave options where um, went a little bit more in depth about how people usually like can freeze their eggs if they have the situation, use a surrogate, things of that nature if it came to that time when I was ready and I couldn't hold my own child, and just have that little cushion for comfort and safety net essentially. So yeah, kind of just put it to the side just because it wasn't necessary at that time. I didn't really feel like it was necessary, and it was kind of hard just because being 19 and told that, and being told that you should probably change your plans accordingly. It was just frustrating because I was not my plan at all, and I just didn't want to have kids yet.
Yeah. But
So
you know that you want to have kids, is that right?
yes, I know I want to have kids. I never told myself I never wanted to have kids. Like growing up, there was always those kids that are like, "Oh, I'm never gonna have kids." I'm never one of those. I'm like, "Yeah, I want to be a mom," but it's just I want to be later. My mom had me when she was a teenager, and a teenage pregnancy is really high in my family, so it was like a goal of mine to get out of the teens at least to wait and
Yeah.
have kids and experience life and to do those things that my family didn't get to do.
Right. And you're in college too? So,
So right now I'm going back in the spring, just because I'm paying for it just out of pocket rather than
yep.
taking student loans. So yeah, right now I'm just waiting. I actually took last semester off though, just because I had the whole egg freezing process. That was when that was happening, and it was just a
Wow, you
lot.
are so brave. So you started the egg freezing process, and
Yep.
how was that for you? Did you have anybody to help you through the process, or were you all alone?
So I would say one of my main supporters for the egg freezing process. I actually had a lot of support. So SUU as a whole was amazingly supportive. I'm in a sorority. I'm an alumni now. Down at SUU called Delta Psi Omega, and they were awesome. Especially her name's Taylor. There's countless times where if like I was in pain or she would be researching stuff for me and send it to me throughout the day. My boyfriend's also been really helpful and supportive. And then also with my family, my grandparents especially have been amazing. So
That's
yeah.
great. I'm glad you have so much family support. So tell us a little bit about the egg freezing process itself and how that felt for you. I mean, you're really young, so
So in October of 2015. I actually had like this big, huge mental breakdown in my house because I was just super frustrated. It was one of those really bad days with endometriosis, and I was just mad at myself because it's just like you just feel really bad because you're just like, why can't I do something that a normal person can do? And you just start thinking very negative. And I actually went to my bathroom, and I remember this because my dog was really scared. And I just started throwing a bunch of stuff. And then I sat down after I like was upset, and I was like, okay, I have to think of a plan because I can't afford egg freezing. So I'm gonna have to go out of my comfort zone, and I'm gonna have to ask for help. And that's something I don't like to do, but it was a necessary thing if I was gonna further the treatment for endometriosis, just because I wanted that security. I wanted to be able to have options when they were already limited. So I actually, that day, I got ready really quick, made a GoFundMe video so I could explain it better. And I just explained to everyone, even those like I didn't really know from high school, and I shared it on my Facebook page. And at that time, I think I had like 1,500 friends on Facebook. So, I mean, it was like, enough, but it was a lot less than I have now. And I was just amazed with how many people shared it. Within like 2 weeks, I think I got about $3,000.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it helped out a lot. I had so many people, especially from high school, that I never talked to, and they were behind me 100%.
Aww.
So it was just awesome. People shared it, and then the Facebook friend requests just started flowing in with people wanting to help, people asking questions, people just wanting to add me on Facebook to watch the rest of my journey with this whole thing, and support me along the way. I had people even from Greece, other countries, messaging me saying, hey, my family and I are watching your story. Just keep us updated. We really hope that things work out for you. So it was just an amazing response. Time went by, and
So tell us about the actual egg freezing. What was your choice? Did you decide to freeze just eggs, or?
So when it came time for the egg freezing, I actually froze embryos and eggs. So
Your doctor suggested that you should make embryos too?
So it was kind of just given to me as an option. So I went to the first appointment where they were just saying, this is what we can do, this is what we offer, this is how it would work, this is how much it would cost. Basically, the most stressful appointment that you could ever think of, just because so much is getting thrown at you, and it's just, you have to make a decision. Yeah. So usually you have a person with you, but it was kind of like I was by myself. And it's a difficult situation because my boyfriend and I have been together for a while, and it was kind of like, I got the question, well, are you married? And it's like,
I'm 21, I'm not
Or
married.
do you have a significant other at the time? And it was like, no, that's not the situation. I'm just like looking to move on with my life and be able to have the security.
Right.
And so they were like, well, you can freeze embryos. They have, if you like feel comfortable enough doing that with your boyfriend, or you can just freeze the eggs, or we can do this thing where you can freeze a quarter embryos of the eggs that we retrieve, and then the rest we'll just store as eggs, so you can have that as a backup plan as well.
Did they ever ask you about donor sperm?
No, that actually never came across. I don't think I'd necessarily feel comfortable yet doing that, just because it'd be like, the whole embryo thing was just to secure a future with my boyfriend if we were going to be getting married or anything, to make it a little bit easier for us if and when we have kids.
Right.
Just because it has a higher percentage rate of working rather than the egg, because it has to go through so much more. So that's where we were on that standpoint. And I actually didn't even really ask my boyfriend. I kind of went to his house after the appointment, and I showed him the papers and was like, this is what they said. And he goes, well, you're going to do the embryos and the eggs, right? And I kind of was just surprised at the answer, or what he told me, because I just didn't think that would be okay. So we went with that, and then in March we started the whole process of all of that, which was
so how was the meds? How did you survive the meds? Was it okay?
So the meds, if you ask my family, they did not want to be around me. So it was about 32 shots, if I remember correctly, in the 10-day period. They had me wait the whole 10-day period because they wanted to really, really make sure they got a lot of eggs for me, and they felt that they could get a super amount. So the first couple of days,
eggs did you get?
I got 45 eggs.
Wow, that's
So
incredible.
yeah, the Dr. Conway, she's awesome. She was blown away with how many she got. She goes, it just looked like they were different shapes in your ovaries because usually like little circles, but it was like triangles, squares, just because they were jam packed in there. It was great. So that was kind of neat to see. The whole process was really neat to see overall, just because it's, I don't know, you walk into the office and for me, it just felt like it was just filled with so much hope because there's all these people there that are trying to have kids, like they want to be there. It's not because they don't want to be there. So it was just a different feeling. And there was one appointment that was really difficult. The hormones, I was kind of like all crazy at the time, and I was kind of grumpy,
Yeah.
bloated.
It was like your body got hijacked.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was like, if this is what it's like to be pregnant, I was like, I could not tolerate 9 months of this. This is insane.
I thought
So
the same thing. That's so funny. I was like, if this is what pregnancy is, oh my God, watch out.
I was driving myself crazy just because I would get mad at something or like the tiniest little thing. Like I would drop a paper on the floor because I worked the whole time at a restaurant and I was a manager. So everyone would try to like stay clear from me, or during the 10 days they would try to work extra hard and make things happen that I have been begging them to do or have been wanting to do or made a checklist for myself. So they would do it for me and they would never, like I couldn't lift anything, and so even if I went to go try to lift the smallest thing, they would like come over and like smack my hand and be like, no, you can't do that. Yeah, so
that's nice.
Amazing support for my work back then. But yeah, it was one of the appointments is kind of like set into where it's just like this is a reality for a lot of people. I was in the doctor's office and we were talking about, I was talking with other I want to say guests, but it's not guests, other patients in the waiting room, and we were just talking about how many eggs I thought we had so far and everything like that. And some of them are like, I only have a few, and this is our second time around, and the last time none of them are mature and they couldn't use any of them. And I'm sitting here, and at that time I was at like 32 or something when they were saying that they could see them. And everyone was like, you're donating those, right? And everyone, just because I just felt like I wasn't with like someone when I went to the doctor's office, they just thought I was there to donate the eggs.
Like you were an egg donor.
Yeah. So it was just difficult because people looked at me a lot different once I told them, and I kind of got like the puppy dog eyes, like, oh, I'm so sorry, like for you. And it's just, that was probably the most difficult one. But then it just hit me, and it was just like everyone's going through something, and there's more often than not this happens to a lot of people, and probably everyone in the world knows at least some person that's gotten their eggs frozen and knows like how difficult that journey was for them.
Or even just sought IVF treatment to have a baby.
Exactly. And it's just, I don't know, it's crazy how far technology has spanned, but it's also just sometimes overwhelming because it's just like you can do so much, but the process to get there is sometimes a little bit difficult.
Very well said. I couldn't agree with you more. Wow. So how many eggs did you freeze and how many did you make into embryos?
So the day of the retrieval, they took out the 45, and then they set aside, I think it was 12 of the eggs that were mature enough to do the embryos. And then they set the other aside, and then about 17, I think it was just the eggs that were mature enough to be frozen. And then they used the 12 mature eggs to try to make an embryo with. Unfortunately, we just had some difficulties, and we had to use ICSI and everything like that, just because the sperm count was a little bit lower. So we only got 2 embryos out of the 12, but it's better than none. So we got 2 embryos and 17 eggs. So I feel like I did pretty good.
Yeah, you did great. So how do you feel afterwards? I mean, you're still dealing with the endometriosis a bit, right?
Yes. So how I feel afterwards, not gonna lie, like I honestly probably got a little bit, not worse mentally, I actually could say, mentally and emotionally, just because that was done and over with, but then
reality set in?
Yeah, it was just kind of like, well, what's the next step? Like, I don't know. It's just, now it's just dealing with endometriosis. And at first it was just dealing with the egg freezing, which was exciting because it was kind of like planning for the future and everything. And now it's kind of like reality's hitting and it's getting real, and it's kind of like you have to
Still
sit
make
down.
things happen
Yeah.
in your life. I mean,
So
you have your whole life in front of you still.
yeah, and it's just getting to that point where now it's like I've changed what I want to do with myself, and I've just been thinking about things a lot more. And then sometimes I still just get upset because now I think about what the cost is going to be when I have to use a surrogate, if I have to use one. And I don't know, it just gets a little frustrating, but I have found like a bunch of peace and comfort in fitness, which has been helping out a lot in like yoga. My friend got me into that. But yeah, it's been okay. They're wanting me to try a couple of different treatments. I actually looked into one that you told me about, which was the thermal treatment. And then also the medication Lupron. And I'll try me on that for 6 months to see how well I do with that. But yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I think you're just so brave and you are so mature for being 21. I mean, if I had, when I was 21, I don't think I would have handled it as well as you've handled it. So hats off to you. For being so proactive and for learning about your health and for asking for different opinions from doctors and not just taking the first doctor's, answer from you. And you've been very proactive. And so, I just wish you all the best. I think that you're doing really great, and I'm so proud of you, like especially with you working through school, and that's hard, but I can totally relate with you because I did that too. I worked for a restaurant and put myself through college. My parents were business owners and farmers, and we didn't have a lot of money either. And I just think you have such a bright future, and I'm really glad that you want to share your story.
I do. The more people I can help, the better. That's probably the most rewarding part of this whole thing and the most humbling part by far.
Yeah, and you're not alone. I mean, endometriosis affects a lot of people. It's hard that it's affecting you so young, because it's forcing you to make these decisions really early on. But I mean, what a great result. It just goes to show, like, you're 21 and you had 45 eggs retrieved. Someone like me, I was 33 and I only had 17 eggs that successfully froze. So, and I only had 22 that were extracted from the beginning. So look how the numbers change. It went by half. I had half the number that you did. And that's 10 years difference of just being 10 years older than you. So you're very fortunate. You're very blessed that you had good medical care that helped you through this process. So I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
You remind me a lot of myself. So, well, any advice to women that you would give, or even women your age? Would you recommend this to your college sorority girlfriends, for example?
So my advice is to essentially put your pride away, and admit that you need help, because it's a lot easier to take this on with other people supporting you and knowing that you have that support, and being proactive and letting people know about your condition and letting them know, like, hey, this is what it's like, this is what it feels like, but it's okay. And just not saying no to help. Like, that's my only thing I could not stress enough, is just being okay with being helped by other people. Because it's at first it seems embarrassing to tell people about it, and it just seems like you don't want people to feel sorry for you. But then then after that, people admire you just because it's like, I never knew that you were going through this, and then you get a completely different response than you're thinking. So put any negative thing that you have away, and then just go out and try to feel better. That's the only thing I can feel or say about that whole thing.
Oh, that's really great. Well, Kat, we're going to keep following your story, and I think you're really brave, and thanks for sharing. Look forward to what comes next for you, and good luck with your school semester that's coming up.
Thank you.
All right, bye, dear.
Bye.